Spring football is in the rear view, and the Miami Hurricanes have gone a long way to answering their number one question heading into next year, because I believe they now have a defense that they can count on.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On this loaded episode, I know spring football is over, but crazy season is about to start here with the transfer portal opening in a couple of days. You also have recruiting, which is big this time of year. We'll talk about the latest on Miami's top targets in the class of 2026 and if they move the needle with all the guys that visited over the weekend for the spring game. We'll talk about Miami's biggest transfer portal needs, and we'll talk good and bad from the spring game, Cobb Stadium this past Saturday. And who better to break this all down with than a guy I was standing next to on the sidelines for most of that spring game. Geo Milian is with us, content creator extraordinaire, South Florida sports reporter. So, Geo, I wanted to start with the D, right? Because, and this is not just one take based on, 85 minutes of spring football this past weekend, based on the entire body of work through spring ball. I feel so much better about Miami's defense, the added personnel, the new coaching with Corey Heatherman on down. What were your big takeaways, though, from the spring game? Who popped to you on that side of the football?
On the defensive side, I thought I saw some nice things, at least from Popo Aguirre, especially that goal line stop, 4th and 1. Jordan Lyle was dominating most of that drive. I think it was the third drive of the spring game. Jordan Lyle was just taking over, and then the defense locked in. And we noticed, you and me too, we were just watching the sideline there. Heatherman's there, Jason Taylor, Coach Damian Lewis, and they were very intense. So Popo gets that stop right up the middle on Mark Fletcher. They bring in Mark Fletcher at the goal line and everything. That was great to see. I think it gave us a sense of, okay, maybe there is a little something here. And then you also had multiple fumbles forced by the defense as well. Wesley Basaint and Zachariah Poyser on the very first drive, forcing a fumble. I think it was by the right sideline on Mark Fletcher. And then even a walk-on, Nick Kelly. He forced the fumble as well during the game. And then a couple interceptions out there too. I shouldn't even say a couple, about a trio of interceptions.
Yeah.
Amari Wallace, Dylan Day, and even Jason Taylor's son, Isaiah Taylor. He's healthy now. He caught a pick during the game too. So I think there were some nice things out there. I would say, though, the absolute biggest takeaway, the cornerbacks. I think Miami's in a much, much, much better situation with that room this year than they were last season.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And how about offensively, Gio? And I'm going to let you take this because I said my piece on Saturday night after the game. You may have some of the same guys, some different guys, but who really popped to you on the offensive side of the football?
I would say Malachi Toney, Ray Joseph, Jordan Lyle. Really loved what I saw from Gerard Pringle as well. I know he was nicked up quite a bit throughout camp. It was nice to see him healthy, participating out there. I know some other key guys were out, but just for the fans that are concerned, there's nothing too serious in regards to injuries right now. The team is relatively healthy, just some precautionary stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And a little bit more on Malachi Toney, Gio, because the role that we expect him to play this coming season, because you were right to point out that Ray Joseph also played well in the spring game, and Ray has had a really good spring. So I'm not here like anointing Malachi Toney as, hey, he just took Ray's job. He's going to be the starting slot guy and Ray's not going to play. No, I think we need to get both of these guys on the field, Gio. And I think it's really up to Shannon Dawson and company to, especially with Malachi Toney, because he just looks like such a weapon out there. You've got to find a way to get this guy on the field a lot.
No, I agree 100% with that. I think it's a very healthy competition between those two. Both of them basically had what would have been 2 touchdowns apiece. Both had one each called back just on penalties. One was like a holding, another was, I forgot what the other penalty was, but I think those two just really stood out from the receivers group. Obviously, not having JoJo Trader participating wasn't the most ideal thing, or Elijah Lofton, 2 very key pieces of this offense for this upcoming season. But I think it was a good showing. The real spring game happened the week before, but I think it's nice when you get these players in this setting where the fans are around and you kind of simulate that game day experience to an extent. Because the reality is sometimes when you get to game day in September, well, it'll be August 31st this year for Miami. But when you reach that point, some guys freeze up when you get to the stadium or when the live bullets are flying. It's an entirely different thing. So I think this is also why we've coined the term for many years now. Who are the Green Tree All-Americans and who are your gamers, your game day guys?
All right, your takeaways at quarterback, where, obviously QB1 did not play in the spring game. Carson Beck was there. We saw him on the sidelines watching his team. He's actually, as of right now, he's cleared to throw. So he's going to be going through the player-led practices. But, in terms of Emory Williams, Judd Anderson, Luke Nickel, let's talk about the ups and downs and how we think that quarterback, rotation, the guys behind Beck, might look this year.
I think Emory Williams had a solid showing on Saturday. Nothing that was really wow or pizzazz, aside from he had that. There's this one ball that was kind of like up the seam to Malachi Toney. Mostly some check down, some short, quick game and whatnot. Definitely some chemistry there between him and Ray Joseph, but it makes sense. I mean, the two guys came in the very same class. They've been practicing together for years now. I wouldn't say I was wowed by him, but he had a solid day. It wasn't like no really big mistakes or turnovers. He just played it very safe. Judd Anderson, great athlete. If the guy ever wanted to switch positions, I think he would make a heck of a tight end, to be honest with you. I know he was he was a really good hooper as well in high school. Not so great in the passing game, had 2 picks. Seemed like he was holding on to the ball for a little too long. Kind of the same issue that I saw with Emory Williams at times as well. Just holding on to the ball for a little too long in the pocket. That internal clock not really kicking like, hey, I need to roll out or I need to, just throw this away. Luke Nickel, though, I think he was the big winner of Saturday. I know he had a couple of really good practices leading up into the spring game. Early on in spring, it seemed like the game still needed to slow down a little bit for him. Seems better now. More like he's processing things better. And I think the biggest thing that stood out to me about Luke Nickel compared to the other 2 guys, and this is not me just like trying to hype it up or anything, but this is just my observation. He is not afraid to throw. He has that gunslinger mentality that I don't really see from the other 2. There's some pop to his arm as well, especially that deep pass that he had to Malachi Toney, which was like, I believe it was towards the back of the end zone. He just got it right in there, right over the DB. But I just saw confidence, and he was able to roll out too and extend plays. Like there's one in particular that stands out where he's running towards the right sideline, and Malachi Toney is like tracking him down, and I think it was like a diving catch, or he was almost falling, Toney, but picked up the first down, extending the play, because the defensive ends, they were all over the place on Saturday. I think that group is really deep right now for Miami.
Yeah, well, and let's circle back to that, because I strongly feel, and the proof is going to happen from late August on, but I don't think the defense is going to be a problem. Like it was a problem last year. Like I think the defense can now elevate the offense, and so now more of my questions are going to go to what kind of a season is Carson Beck going to have. But do you agree that for all the work that Mario Cristobal did hiring every new coach except for Jason Taylor on the defensive side, bringing in so much new personnel, giving the returning personnel probably a more athlete-friendly, scheme to work in that I think the defense is going to be fixed this year, Gio.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing I saw was just from the communication aspect of things. You didn't see guys pointing like at each other or around the field like they're the Spider-Man meme anymore, which was a great thing to see. But yeah, I just felt like they were more organized. Like guys didn't seem like they were as lost. Communication was good there, especially. I've brought this up since the start of spring, but I really like what Zachariah Poyser brings to the table. Just a great communicator. He's very involved with the guys. I just say for the most part, like I guess my concerns would be, I think Miami's not very deep at linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some talent there, some potential behind some of their top couple guys. But it's just still a lot of raw, a lot of needs refinement and whatnot. Then I look at the defensive tackle situation as well. I think they're great with their top three guys. Obviously, Moten didn't get to participate, but I think they're great with their top three. They have a little something there with Dante Simpson, but they're very light there too.
Yeah, well, and that's the perfect segue because when we come back, I want to talk about transfer portal needs because, we're already seeing players around the country making their intentions known to hit the portal. There's some options out there. Is Miami going to be a busy shopper in a couple days? You want to keep it locked right here. We got the great Geo Milian with us, and we're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's so easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, guys. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending and overspending on things like food delivery and streaming services. Now I budget smarter and I save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, even plan long-term goals right in the same place. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and I will have a new episode coming up later on tonight. We're going to talk a lot about Mario Cristobal's statement of, if you're going to play holdout, you might as well play get out with what's happening around the country, the Nico Iamaleava situation. Boy, I nailed his last name that time. I'm just going to play that recording every time I try to say his name from now until the future. So make sure you check out Locked On ACC, available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Here on Locked On Canes, we're talking with our good friend, Geo Milian. Yeah, so Geo, you mentioned linebacker. I think that's a spot where Miami could do some shopping coming up, starting on the 16th when the portal opens. What other position groups, offense and defense, do you think Miami is realistically going to take some swings in the portal?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this about a week ago. I think the quarterback situation is one to definitely monitor. You see if potentially Emory Williams or even a Judd Anderson, either of those guys, if they decide to enter the portal. I think both of those possibilities are on the table. Maybe it does happen. Maybe it doesn't. We got to see. So I know guys weigh their options. Running back piece for depth. There's a couple of options out there. You got the NC State running back, Raphael, and you also got Augusta from Colorado. Both guys from the Florida area, both played at Naples High School. I think both are intriguing options, especially Augusta, considering like the makeup of Miami's roster and what they have in that running back room. Would be nice to add a depth piece as like a bigger running back. He's about 6'2", 210, 215 pounds, so would be a nice piece there. Wide receivers, I know they could very well take two. I know they would really like to add an X wide receiver, potentially a slot as well. I know it's a great situation they have with Ray Joseph and Malachi Toney right now, but it's also the name of the game is talent acquisition. You try to raise the floor of every room that you can if a big-time player becomes available. Depth pieces on offensive line, especially the interior guards. That's something that's been brought up quite a bit. I know Miami tried during the winter period, didn't really work out. I could see them trying again during spring. I turn over to the defensive side. They're great at defensive end right now, but I think if a top flight pass rusher becomes available, is it a luxury? Yes. It's not a necessity, but if there is a big time guy, I wouldn't be shocked if Miami tried or at least expressed some interest, but it may not be necessary. Defensive tackle, though, I'd say I'm actually a little more concerned about defensive tackle than I am linebacker. And the reason why is what I mentioned earlier. Really like what they have with the top 3 guys. Justin Scott has a very good chance of becoming a household name across the country this year. David Blay brings a lot to the table. Ahmad Moten, we've seen his growth over the past couple of years, especially towards the end of the season last year with Cam Ward and those guys. But after that, there's a drop-off. Dante Simpson, yes, he's impressed quite a bit, but there's only so much you could rely on from a true freshman at a physically demanding position like defensive tackle. And you look towards some of the other younger guys, Micah Newton, a little bit nicked up right now. Artavius Jones, yes, he's strong, but still some refinement that needs to be done there. Some technique that he still needs to work on. Dalen Russell, they need at least a guy or two that is a veteran to add to that room to be safe and have some insurance coming up into this season. And linebacker, I see mostly they probably need a guy that is a middle linebacker, a guy that's a veteran that has played a lot of college football games, someone that could seriously push to start. I'm not talking about a depth piece, but someone that could legitimately start on this team and potentially be an all-conference type of talent. When I look at that defense, I don't see someone in the middle of that defense right now. I see flashes like guys like Popo or Wesley Basaint or Bobby Pruitt. They all flash, but I don't see the consistency yet from a one guy that would be able to take over a game or be a leader. You need that in a defense, especially right in the middle. So, and then also a safety. Absolutely, you have to take a safety. I know Markeith Williams has had a really good spring. Dylan Day has flashed a lot too, but it's still a lot of unknown and uncertainty because you haven't really seen that in a game day atmosphere yet.
Well, I want to start talking some recruiting here because I've noticed every time Geo comes on, he has some nuggets, and we can usually pull some stuff out of him that he doesn't necessarily even want to say. But we have this.
I got some portal nuggets.
Oh, give me the portal nuggets then first, and we'll get to recruiting. Let's go nuggets. Let's line them up, 10-piece.
So Miami will absolutely be a player for Florida transfer safety Gregory Smith III. He's about 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds, 6'9" wingspan. They'll be a player for him. Receiver-wise, there's been a lot of names that have been circulating around and chatter about. You think about guys like Noah Thomas, Colby Young at Georgia. I know there's been some discussions that those guys are considering their options. Jace Brown from Kansas State. I will say, though, about Jace Brown and Noah Thomas, it's very much on the table that those guys could return to their schools. There was a lot of talk about TJ Moore at Clemson. Potentially, he could enter the portal. This was dating back to like January. I heard that's not going to happen. From my understanding, he's going to stay at Clemson as well. But I'll toss it over to the defensive back side again, though. A little interesting situation. It could end up being a nothing burger, could end up being something. But I do know there's two defensive backs at the University of Florida that are in the midst of negotiations with their NIL collective and Sharif Denson and Bryce Thornton. Again, there's some familiarity there between Will Harris and them. You know, Will Harris was coaching there a year. I'm not saying it happens, but I think it's a situation worth monitoring.
Those are the nuggets. Well, we'll get some recruiting nuggets from Geo when we come back. And Miami had a lot of big time visitors. They had a lot of their verbal commits, Miami verbal commits visiting, but guys who are either uncommitted or committing elsewhere on campus, like Tristan Keys, the top wide receiver who's committed to LSU. Other receivers, Samori and Wingo, Jace Matthews were on campus. My guy Cannon Pickett, offensive lineman, cornerback Chauncey Kennan, linebacker Malik Morris, so many others. Let's break it down with Geo when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, you can get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen on this Monday. Make sure for your next listen, you check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin, who's this is about as busy as the offseason gets, and it's always kind of busy. So make sure you check out Spencer McLaughlin, Locked On College Football, available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. We continue on with our awesome guest, Geo Milian. All right, so Geo, I mentioned a bunch of the names, and there were others that I probably left out because there were literally dozens of, and that was just in the class of 2026. You had 2027, some 2028s as well on campus. We focus more on 2026s for now. But can you give us anything? Did Miami move the needle with any of these recruits, uncommitted guys or committed elsewhere, who visited campus and saw the spring game?
There's 4 recruits I would bring up basically from Thursday on through Saturday. 4-star safety Blake Stewart out of the state of Georgia. 4-star cornerback Chauncey Kennan, who happens to be the nephew of former Miami Hurricanes wide receiver / cornerback Sam Shields. I've actually had a pick in for him for Miami dating back to late January that I had logged in on my private board. So I really like where Miami's at with him. I think it was great that they got him back on campus. It had been a little bit of time since he was last there, so things are trending very well there. And actually a little tidbit about him and 4-star linebacker Malik Morris out of Lakeland, Florida. Miami's current quarterback commit right now, Darion Coleman, let's just say he has a lot of pull with a lot of these guys around the state here, the Sunshine State. A lot of them want to play with him. They want to play together at the next level. I'd keep an eye on those 2 guys moving forward, Chauncey Kennan and Malik Morris. I think Miami has a very serious shot at landing both. I do have a pick in right now for Kennan to Miami, though.
I like
And
that.
the last guy, little under the radar, Miami was recruiting one of his teammates last year in Derry Norris out of Spruce Creek, Florida. The guy this year thereafter is Freddie Wilson, big defensive tackle, going a little under the radar, but Miami really likes him. They kind of moved the needle there over the weekend as well.
That's great to know. So maybe this one not as positive of an update, but I wanted to pick your brain on 5-star top player in the class, Jackson Cantwell. I know that like late in the week last week, it really looked, and folks, when you're talking about the number 1 player in the class, it's always a roller coaster. Like you never, especially in April, like you're always got to sweat this stuff out. Seemed like Miami had a lot of momentum late in the week for Jackson Cantwell. And then on, I guess it was Saturday morning, we find out he's scheduled a visit to Oregon, which is going to happen next week. And it seemed like Oregon felt like they were falling a little bit behind. And then they're able to convince Cantwell to go out to Eugene this weekend. From a Miami point of view, how concerned should we be?
Definitely some level of being concerned there, and reason being so is he was actually supposed to make a commitment basically over the weekend.
Mm,
That did not end up taking place. Oregon basically did what they always do, coming in last minute and
yeah.
getting guys to reconsider things. It's very par for the course in what they do with these recruitments. Uh, I will say though, I know Miami was really confident going up to the weekend of the spring game. Uh, Even to the point that is very much trending in the direction that he was going to commit to Miami. I spoke with a couple of guys that are very familiar with the recruitment as well, and it wasn't just random smoke. It was very much trending that way. And then everyone wakes up Saturday morning, and then Oregon kind of swoops in the back door, and here we are again. So I think the next 10 to 15 days are going to be very interesting in regards to that recruitment. I will share though that Miami has more connections to that recruitment with Cantwell than just Drew Rosenhaus, the director of track at the University of Miami. Amy Dean also has a lot of familiarity with both of his parents, working with the Olympic and national teams for the United States.
Oh, that's good to know. Another one I'm curious about because there seems like the last several days there's been more smoke for Georgia with Derek Cooper, who's of course one of our favorites, and this one has been very much back and forth, Geo, because Derek Cooper was briefly committed to UGA, backed off that recruitment. Miami seemed to have a lot of momentum for a while. Now Georgia is getting momentum back. I think he had a recent visit to Athens. What's going on there with the stud from Chaminade?
I still like Miami, actually.
Good.
I know maybe some people are a little more cautious about it. I like where things are trending there because his mother is also a frequent visitor to campus, not just Derek Cooper himself. He's visited Miami more than any other program. Obviously, that should happen considering the distance from where he plays his high school football and where he lives. But I still think it's a bit premature to say like exactly where he's going to go or if Georgia for certain is going to be the school. A lot of times what happens when some of these guys decommit from a program, I know he was only committed there for like less than 48 hours over a year ago, but a lot of the times what happens is that these kids don't end up recommitting to the same school.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out, but I still like where Miami is trending in that recruitment.
Well, we appreciate your time as always, and I enjoyed. I had a great time at the spring game, chatting it up with guys like Geo, with D Money from Kane's Insight, who we were watching with. I saw our guy Peter Rees out there as well. Of course, Don Bailey Jr. was watching the O line with him early on, so it was a great experience. And now we enter a very, very long period of time before we're going to see competitive football. I mean, even if I don't know if you call the spring game competitive football, there's a scrimmage, but it's going to be a long time now. So we'll count down the days. Geo, let people know where they can find all your work and the next time they can find you and Amon Richards and any other shows you've got planned this week.
Yes, of course. Everyone can find me on X at Geo Milian or also on Instagram. Me and Amon Richards, we host a basically weekly show on the Miami Hurricanes football program called Who Wants Smoke _Inc. on YouTube. A lot of good reviews are coming in about our show. People love it. People love Amon as well. I'll also say I also do some appearances here with you, Donno. I also do Comics on Canes with Michael Yo every week. The Canes Work podcasts on Wednesdays. And I'll be on 560 WQAM tonight as well.
Oh, good for you, man. With Larry Bluestein.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And by the way, I approve of every person that Geo just shouted out, but I also wanted to shout out Michael Yo because I don't think I've shouted him out before on the show. I appreciate the work that he does, and I've been a fan of his for years, and so I'm so glad he's really in the Miami Hurricane space now. So guys, make sure you check Geo out. Make sure you hit that like button, smash it, subscribe to Locked On Canes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. We'll have a Truth Teller Tuesday coming your way tomorrow right here on Locked On Canes. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. your team every day.